In this pocket coaching, I'm going to share with you how I lay out my goals for the year and a very unusual way in which I think through planning my year. Hey, Jay Williams, and welcome to another pocket coaching. It's that time of year where many people are looking to the future. They're looking to 2024, and they're also reflecting on 2023 of, has it been a successful year? Have I hit all the goals that I wanted to, or do I feel a little bit of shame because I haven't quite hit the mark again this year? Now, I want to share with you some ways in which I think through the year and reflect, and then I'm just going to share with you some different thinking that I think will really serve you going into 2024 and into the first quarter of 2025. So the first thing I would ask myself, and I'd encourage you to either take a pen and write this down or contemplate it for yourself, is what are 3 things that did work this year for you? What are 3 things that did work this year for you? So as an example, the things that worked for me this year were virtual summits to build my list. They have been extraordinary this year in building my email list. The second thing that worked for me was confronting people's bullshit and not settling for people not doing what they say they're going to do. Third thing that worked for me this year was collaborating with other people instead of trying to lone wolf it all the time and do it on my own. The next question I asked myself is, what are 3 things that didn't work this year? Number 1, not making enough offers. I didn't make enough offers this year because I was so focused on building the summits and getting that whole process down. Number 2, I didn't survey my email list the first time I run one of these joint ventures before a joint venture, and it fell flat on its face. Yes, I made some sales, but it wasn't the number that it actually needed. Third thing I settled for, and this normally happened at the start of the year, is I settled for people's lack of integrity and being intimidated by people who've achieved 7, 8 figures in their business, when the reality is it was a privilege to come and speak on my stage. So those are some examples of what did and didn't work for me this year. Now, many people are asking me this question. Are you taking time off for Christmas, Jay? You having some downtime? And the answer is yes. And the reason I'm able to is because I planned ahead. And we've all heard the saying, fail to plan, plan to fail. And I learned the hard way because I used to suck at planning and I never planned. I just got into it and just got on with it. Let's get into the action. And many people don't know this, but I actually started planning for 2024, the first quarter of 2024. I started at the end of 2022. Yes, you heard that correctly. And the reason I did that is because most people get to December and then they start thinking about January or the first quarter. And what happens is they end up being reactive, or they're trying to just pull something together last minute, lastminute.com. And they end up competing with everybody else in the marketplace. They're trying to put ads out there. They're trying to compete with all the organic people on social media. And if they haven't got people onto their email list already, or an audience on their email list, they might not be able to create the results they want. So for me, you may know I run virtual summits to build my email list. And at the back end of 2022, I decided I was going to run 4 summits, and one of those specific summits was going to land in November. The reason I was doing it in November is because I wanted to build the audience and a warm audience of people who'd already opted into my list, had already spent some time with it, who'd already built a level of trust, so that when I launch challenges, masterclasses, and make offers in the first quarter of 2024, they're more likely to engage and potentially more likely to buy. And I give myself the best chance of actually being successful. The best chance of being successful. But if I hadn't have done that, then I would still be doing the work, and I might even be spending time over Christmas and New Year to try and get that stuff together, which is what I'd done in previous years. And it was hard for me to take time off because I hadn't planned correctly. Now, the next question I ask myself is, what do I want to achieve by the end of 2024? As in, what's my goal? Now, when it comes to goal setting, I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs here. This is how you plan goals, right? Here's how I think about goals. And I've often had challenge when people say, what's your financial goal for this year? And I'm like, struggling to name one, or I'm not really feeling excited or energized by it. It's just something that I put on paper because it's kind of the done thing. And so I've realized over the years that in order to lead myself and get myself excited, get myself motivated, I need to align to the things that do excite me. And that might sound like common sense, but most people don't understand what's important to them, what motivates them, and what drives them. For me, if you've learned anything about me, I actually really like helping people. I genuinely do love giving. There's not anyone I wouldn't give to if they were put in front of me. And when I set goals, the first goal I ask myself is, how many people do I want to help in 2024? How many people? Like, what's my target? And straight away when I say that, it brings energy to my body. I can feel the motivation. It's exciting for me. And then because I'm a smart businessman, I, of course, need a monetary figure, but the monetary figure isn't something that I just pulled out my ass. I pull out a monetary figure and then I ask myself the question, why does that matter? Why is that the number? And what I do is I plan the lifestyle that I want to create for myself. I get deeply connected to, okay, what do I want? I want this. I want to do this. I want these types of holidays. I want to stay in these types of locations. I get deeply connected to that. And then I go and research what's the number. And that's the number that I aim for consistently. Rather than just going, oh, I need to earn 10 grand a month because someone else has said it. Sometimes some people just want to earn 5K a month and that works for them. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes 50, sometimes 100. Whatever you do is your thing, but make sure it's actually your number. And of course, once I have these numbers, I break that down into quarterly goals. What's Q4, Q3, Q2, Q1. And the secret to success is simple, right? We all know it. Be clear on what you want. Focus on what you want consistently, daily. Visualize achieving having had that result. Have a strategy to get there. You need a vehicle to get there. One of my plans next year is running virtual summits 9 months of the year. It's pretty much one every month, other than the exception of a few months. Create accountability and an environment that is conducive to being successful. And then finally, take action consistently. So the formula for success is really, really simple. But there's one question that you must ask yourself to avoid getting blindsided, to avoid getting caught out. And it's the one that people really don't want to ask. And that question is, what's the reason this will fail? Now, your ego might want to defend it. And as Warren Buffett once said, optimism is the enemy of the intelligent investor. If you do not take your time to really consider what could go wrong and how you will respond to it, you're going to find yourself being reactive. People always say, Jay, it's about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think, well, a load of bollocks. And I say that because the terminology of it and the way it's pronounced is incorrect. The way you do it is not, hey, I'm now just comfortable with being uncomfortable. You find ways to create certainty in times of uncertainty. How do you do that? Well, number one, clarity. Write this down. Clarity creates certainty. How do you get certainty? Well, you consider, how might this fail? And you start to think about what could go wrong. Not from the world is ending, and I definitely want this to happen. It's more, if this does go wrong, what the hell am I going to do about it? And what happens is you formulate a plan A and a plan B and a plan C. So if that should happen, when it does happen, you are not reacting to it, but you instead are responding to it. Because I guarantee, if you do not make a plan and these things happen, you will get really emotional about it. You'll get frustrated. You'll get angry. You might get fearful. You might create some doubt. There might be some sadness in it. And what's happened when you're really emotional in that way is you're going to make poor decisions. When you make poor decisions, you do poor behaviors. When you do poor behaviors, you get poor results. So if you are in the right emotional state, you're going to set yourself up and give yourself the best possible chance of being successful in 2024 and well into Q1 of 2025. So think about some of these questions. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll speak to you soon.